racing. West Virginia, West Virginia, West Virginia.
G'day, my name's Callum Smith and I'm building an LS1 GU Patrol.
West Virginia, West Virginia.
My love for the GU started in my gap year after school when I was working for a stonemason. He had a GU pretty much the same as what I've got here, and it was the first big lifted full drive with a solid axle front that I'd ever been in. I thought this is pretty wicked. At the time they were well and truly out of my price range, but I got into my full driving after that with an NH Pajero, which was good for a couple of months, and then I found out that the bell housing was attached to the engine with cable ties. There was no bell housing cover, so it was a big dead bird in the bell housing, the engine blew up, so that was a bit of a letdown. I went from there, bought a 4Runner, that ended up being unroadworthy, got defected, I'd get rid of that. And then I went on to buy a 60 series Land Cruiser, and that was one of my favourite four-wheel drives. It had a massive out of control left, 35-inch tyres, and was just an absolute menace off the road. But as I was going through, I was doing harder and harder tracks, and things were breaking, like the exhaust would snap off driving down the highway, snapped both the rear shocks completely in half and couldn't afford to get new ones, so I drove around with them like that. That snapped the sway bar mount, so I was really like driving the Titanic around. So after that I thought I'd get rid of that, and I forked out a bit of money, and by this stage the GU Patrols were coming down in price, so I could actually afford one. So what I did was, got the money, went around, had a look around Tassie, thought about going to the mainland to get a few good deals, but ended up buying this off a bloke in Hobart, and it was real good for about 4 months until the trusty old Grenade ZD30 decided to snap a timing chain, and so the engine just self-destructed basically. So I was faced with the option of completely rebuilding the engine, which I was getting quotes for over 10 grand to do that, and I thought that's ridiculous. Put a second-hand ZD30 in, which I was tempted to. That was probably the cheapest option, but I thought I'm putting in an engine that's slow, ridiculously unreliable, even with all the mods you can do to them. And then I thought I could do a half rebuild, and then I sort of got onto the idea of putting an LS motor into it. And I looked at the prices of parts, and I looked at the prices for getting it done by a professional. Getting it done was out of my price range, no way I could ever afford to do that. But getting the parts ordered from Mark's full drive adapters and doing it myself with a group of mates was just in my price range. So I thought, bugger it, I'll bite the bullet.
West
exhaust systems. I bought new headers and a little Y section at the back of the headers, but because I already had a 3-inch exhaust on the vehicle, I suggest just cutting that and pretty much bolting the new headers onto the old exhaust. I also suggest just using straight Marks four-wheel drive parts. Don't try and save money by going on eBay and finding cheaper things. I tried to do that. I bought an Aeroflow sump instead of paying the $640 or whatever it is for the Marks sump. The Aeroflow sump was a lot cheaper, but at the end of the day I've had to buy fittings. There's a whole lot of things that have been a bug around with it. Another way to save a bit of money if you are doing it yourself, get a big group of mates together on the first weekend. They can help pull the old engine out and get everything ready to put the new engine in. This goes to show what you can do if you shop around, go to Wreckers. Don't just fork out a shitload of money for a brand new one. This was $400 from the Wreckers. It was black, it was rusty, the black paint was shit. So I spent, I don't know, a couple of days sanding it back. Not properly sanding it back, just basic sanding it back. Spent about 4 hours, I reckon, on it in total. Just used some primer filler, sanded that back wet and dry, and then just painted over the top with some white paint. And it's come up an absolute treat. A few things I buggered up when I was putting it in. The Marks adapters instructions do say to cut down the engine mount so it clears the headers, although they do seem to say cut down the engine mount on the wrong side. So my engine mount on the side they said to cut is fine, whereas the engine mount on the other side, I had to cut it. Unfortunately, I'd already put the engine in, so that was an absolute pain in the ass. So what I did was just got out the reticular saw or whatever it's called, that bloody thing, and just cut it while I was lying underneath the car. So that was a pain, but it worked fine. I bought the Marks adapters wiring interface for the LS1, but I bought a VX one, and the loom and engine that I've been supplied with is a VY one. So the difference there between the engines, like I just assumed that all LS1s were the same, and they basically are, but the difference between VXs and VYs is a few of the plugs, especially on the VY loom, are different to what the Marks adapters wiring interface is. So they do supply a VY one, so if you've got the VY loom, you need to get a VY wiring interface. Pretty basic, but I buggered that up. So I had a chat with the guys over at Marks Adapters. Nicholas, I think his name is, he was really helpful. He pretty much said, we'll give you a refund as long as it's not damaged or anything, which is fair enough. So that's all good. I'm sending that back in on Monday to get that refund. So they're really helpful there. And then I sent off just the factory LS1 loom, not the Patrol loom, just the LS1 loom off with Chris Harley. And he's modified that so that it will mate up with the Patrol loom. Now the benefits with that is not as much wiring. So it'll look good, it'll look factory. He can also then go on and connect everything up so that the speedo works, everything in the dash should work, so that's wicked. He's also got like a ECU flash drive thing. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but he can use that to put a tune on the ECU, which is awesome because the engine I've got is a VX Club Sport engine, but the loom I've got is a VY loom, even though the eBay ad that I paid for was for a VX SS engine with the VX SS manual loom. Didn't get either of those things, but that's alright. The engine seems pretty good anyway. The things that have gotten in the way so far, and I found difficult, were the initial lining up of the engine to the bell housing was a bit of a prick. The only way I managed to get it in was, initially I was trying to put it in with the engine mounts on and the transmission jacked up, and that was not happening, it was not going anywhere near it. So I ended up dropping the transmission, not taking it out of the car, but dropping it down so it was a bit lower and completely removing the engine mounts, the Marks engine mounts. That meant I could get the engine lower and get it more lined up with the gearbox. And once I did that, it was easy as piss to line up and slide in. Also lubed up the shaft extension that the Mark kit gives you, so it slid on a bit better. It does say in the instructions that you've got to bash the tunnel out a bit. Bashed it a bit, but not stupidly. And I mean, when it's bolted in, it seems like it's got heaps of room, so I can't see that being an issue. I don't know if that's just to do with the auto box conversions or whatever, but with the manual 5-speed it seems to be fine. The other thing they say to do is to relocate the brake lines that are on this side. And at the moment, while I look at it, I can't see an issue with the brake lines being there. They're meant to be relocated to make room for the headers or whatever, and maybe something to do with the heat. But looking at it now, maybe they could come over an inch or two, but I think that should be fine really. Other than that, the only other thing I can see being a pain in the ass is once the headers are on, actually putting the nut on the top of the engine mount bolt so the engine's fastened in. Because I'm using a high performance aeroflow sump instead of the one Mark's adapters supply and suggest in their kit, I've run into a few things. The bell housing, I assume the Mark sump goes up and is in the same sort of shape as the bell housing, and it actually, when you bolt them together, it encloses the bell housing, whereas this one doesn't have that. So at the moment there's a big open area where you can actually touch the flywheel, so I need to get a plate made up to cover that up, so that's a pain. I had to modify the dipstick, and that was fine. They bend really easily, so that was no dramas at all. A few things I've noticed with the Genie Performance headers is that the spark plug on the right hand side at the front, I'm not sure what number spark plug it is off the top of my head, but when it's sitting there it touches the extractors, so I'm going to have to think of some kind of way to hold that up. Maybe it's probably just a cable tie for the time being. The Mark's full drive adapters hose kit that they send out doesn't seem to come with a bottom radiator hose. Another annoying thing that's happened is when I bought the aeroflow sump, trying to save money, the sump and the pickup came in the one package, but there was no O-ring to suit. So being a novice in this sort of area, I just bolted the pickup straight in with no O-ring. Didn't know that it would make a difference, so that was the cause of the oil starvation and the whole bullshit we've had around priming the oil pump. So this is a little sucker that's caused me all the troubles. It's blue O-ring. This is the new one. This is the old one. New one's a shitload thicker. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, she should do the job. So the benefits of having someone like Chris help out in a build like this is he knows the ins and outs of an engine. He's like a guru of LS conversions into GE patrols. He knows the wiring, he knows the ECU setups, he knows all the fiddly little fins that need to be put on, and he understands how long things take, so he'll give you a good quote on how much he's going to charge because he knows how long it takes. So there's a lot of things, being a novice myself, I had absolutely no idea where even going to be an issue or I had to worry about. Things like water tank fittings, a heap of things. Putting the alternator bracket on, fairly easy, but he did it in about a quarter of the time I would have done it in. MAF sensors he's put in, O2 sensors he's put in. He's pretty much done a lot of the work around the engine running. So the wiring, spark plugs, accessories bolted on. He built power steering lines for me, put all those on. He hooked me up with this twin AU thermo fan and aluminium shroud that goes straight onto the factory ZD30 radiator. He's hooked me up with just fittings that I didn't even know existed. He's got for me. And then he comes on his weekends, he'll come in 30 degrees in the shed and he'll be sitting here twisting spanners and wiring things up, dripping in sweat. So he really goes that extra mile to get the job done, because this must be what he's passionate about, you know? Like, it's just good to have someone who knows what they're doing and who wants to do it, helping you out in the car, because I would never have been able to get this going without Chris. So yeah, I suggest if you were thinking of doing it yourself, I would say probably don't. I would just say pay them the money to do it, because yeah, they'll get it done in half the time. You know they're doing a sweet job. There's nothing in the back of your mind. Like at the moment, in the back of my mind, I'm worried that maybe I haven't done up all the bolts, or the flywheel's going to come flying off, or something ridiculous like that. Whereas if you get them to do it and you pay the extra $2 or $3 grand or whatever they add on top of the parts, you really are, you're paying for peace of mind and good workmanship. So from my point of view, I wouldn't do this again. I would buy a blown up GU for whatever how much they cost and get LS conversions Chris to engine in and do everything for you. It just seems so much easier. Alright, well thanks for helping me with my build. I couldn't have done it without you. Chris has done triple the amount of hours that he's charged for on my car. Yeah, wouldn't have been able to do it without him, so thanks for that.
No, Reggie.